Subscribe to Storylab for more stories. Now, let's begin this one. Chapter 1. The Ghost of Helmand. The Afghan sun beat down on Major Marcus Snyder's convoy like a hammer on an anvil. 3 Humvees rolled through the dusty outskirts of Camp Leatherneck, their routes carefully plotted to avoid known IED hotspots. Marcus sat in the middle vehicle, reviewing intelligence reports on his laptop, his weathered face creased with concentration. At 42, he'd seen enough combat to know when something felt wrong. And today, everything felt wrong. "Sir, we're approaching Checkpoint Delta," his driver, Corporal Jake Mueller, called out. The young Marine's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. Marcus glanced at his watch. Right on schedule. He was due to inspect a forward operating base before flying home for his first leave in 8 months. His son, Clinton, had just turned 19. The boy, no, young man now, had sent him exactly 3 messages in the past half year, each one shorter than the last. The explosion never came from the ground. The Predator drone appeared on their radar for exactly 2 seconds before Marcus heard the whistling scream. Years of combat instinct threw him against Jake, yanking the steering wheel hard left. The Hellfire missile struck the road where their convoy would have been, turning asphalt into a crater of molten slag and shrapnel. Evasive. Evasive. Marcus roared into his radio as the convoy scattered. The second missile missed by 20 feet, close enough that the blast wave flipped their Humvee onto its side. When the dust settled, Marcus crawled from the wreckage, ears ringing, tasting blood and sand. Jake was unconscious but breathing. The rear Humvee was obliterated, 4 good Marines gone in an instant. The lead vehicle had escaped, already circling back. But Marcus wasn't thinking about the casualties yet. His mind, honed by 2 decades of military intelligence work, was already calculating trajectories, response times, authorization levels. That wasn't insurgent tech. That was American hardware. Someone had called in that strike. Someone who knew their exact route, their precise timing. Someone who wanted Marcus Snyder dead. 48 hours later, Marcus sat in a sealed room at Camp Leatherneck's Intelligence Center, staring at data that made his blood run cold. The investigation moved fast. Drone strikes on friendly forces triggered immediate response protocols. The missile authorization had come through a compromised terminal in Qatar, but the targeting data originated from a laptop with an IP address Marcus recognized. His home network in 29 Palms, California. "There has to be a mistake," Lieutenant Colonel Frederick Preston said, standing behind Marcus's chair. Preston was old-school military, a by-the-book officer who'd fought alongside Marcus in Fallujah. "Your security is tighter than the Pentagon." "Was tighter," Marcus corrected, his voice hollow. He pulled up the network logs. Someone had accessed his personal files, pulled his classified route schedules he'd stupidly backed up on his home server to review during video calls with his intelligence team. The timestamps made him sick. All the breaches happened when Clinton would have been home from community college. "Your boy wouldn't," Preston started. "Wouldn't what?" "My son barely speaks to me, Frederick. I've been deployed for 6 of the last 8 years. His mother died when he was 12. I raised him between combat tours and intelligence briefings." Marcus's jaw tightened. "I don't know what he would or wouldn't do anymore." Preston pulled up a chair. "Could be someone used your home network remotely. Could be. Look at this." Marcus opened an encrypted folder he'd found buried in the laptop shadow files. Chat logs. Hundreds of them. His fingers trembled as he scrolled through conversations between his son and someone using the handle brother_Khalid. Brother_Khalid. "Your father is a war criminal. He has killed brothers in Helmand, in Kandahar. Allah sees all debts. C_Hansen19. I know. I've seen the photos he tried to hide. Brother_Khalid. You can make this right. You can bring justice. C_Hansen19. How much?" The conversation went on for months. Clinton had been radicalized slowly, expertly, fed half-truths about Marcus's deployments, photoshopped images of civilian casualties, conspiracy theories about American imperialism. And then came the money. $20,000 in Bitcoin, transferred in stages. The final message was sent 6 hours before the drone strike. C_Hansen19, Dad's route confirmed. 3 Humvees, Checkpoint Delta, 14:30 local time. Payday after the hit? Marcus closed his eyes. The room spun. His son, his only child, the boy he'd taught to ride a bike, to throw a football, to shoot straight, had sold him out to terrorists for $20,000 and some twisted ideology. What do you want to do? Preston asked quietly. Marcus opened his eyes. They were no longer the eyes of a grieving father. They were the eyes of a soldier who'd spent 20 years hunting enemies in the shadows. I'm going home. The flight back to California took 16 hours. Marcus didn't sleep. He sat in the transport plane's cargo hold, surrounded by flag-draped coffins of the Marines killed in his place, and planned. His mind worked through scenarios with the same methodical precision he'd used tracking Taliban cells through the Hindu Kush. Clinton thought he was still deployed for another 2 weeks. The boy had no idea the strike had failed, no idea Marcus knew. That gave Marcus time. Not much, but enough. He made one encrypted call from a secure satellite phone. Daryl, it's Marcus. Daryl Novak had served with Marcus in Marine Force Recon before transitioning to private military contracting. They'd saved each other's lives in places that didn't officially exist. When Marcus explained the situation, carefully, leaving out nothing, Daryl was silent for a long moment. You sure about this, brother? Once we move, there's no going back. I need to know if he's working alone. I need to know who else is involved. And Marcus's voice cracked for the first time. I need to understand why. I'll bring Scott and Everett. We'll be ghosts. Marcus arrived at March Air Reserve Base at 0300 hours and took a civilian car to 29 Palms. His house sat on the edge of town, a modest ranch home with desert landscaping. The lights were off. Clinton's beat-up Honda sat in the driveway. Marcus parked 2 blocks away and approached on foot, moving through the shadows like he'd done in 100 combat zones. He had a key but didn't use it. Instead, he circled to the back, where a basement window had a faulty lock he'd been meaning to fix for a year. The house was silent as he slipped inside. His basement had been converted into a home gym and storage area. Marcus moved through it with practiced stealth, ascending the stairs to the main floor. Clinton's bedroom door was closed. Light leaked from underneath. Marcus stood outside his son's room, hand on his sidearm, listening. He could hear typing, rapid, urgent. Then voices. Clinton wasn't alone. Confirm he's dead? An unfamiliar voice asked. Male, young, with an accent Marcus couldn't place. They haven't announced casualties yet, Clinton replied. His voice was different, harder, colder. But the coordinates were perfect. Brother Khalid said they got visual confirmation of the hit. And the money? Should transfer once they verify. $20K split 3 ways. 3 ways. Clinton had partners. Here, in Marcus's house. Marcus's tactical training took over. He moved silently down the hallway, checking rooms. The guest bedroom window was open, emergency exit route. Smart. In the kitchen, he found 2 backpacks loaded with supplies. Passports, cash, camping gear. They were planning to run. He pulled out his phone and texted Daryl. 3 hostels. House is hot. Moving in 5. The reply came instantly, 2 minutes out. Marcus returned to Clinton's door. His hand hovered over the knob. In 2 minutes, his team would breach the house, and whatever happened next would change everything forever. But first, Marcus needed one thing. He needed to look his son in the eye. He opened the door. Chapter 2. The Reckoning. Clinton Hansen spun around in his desk chair, laptop screen illuminating his face. For a moment, one frozen heartbeat, father and son stared at each other. Marcus saw the flash of recognition in Clinton's eyes, followed by something worse than fear. Calculation. Dad. Clinton's hand slid toward the drawer where Marcus knew he kept a pistol, a Glock 19 Marcus had given him for his 18th birthday. You're supposed to be dead. Marcus stepped into the room, his own weapon drawn but lowered. Yeah, about that. 2 other figures scrambled to their feet. The first was a lanky Middle Eastern man in his 20s, expensive sneakers and designer jeans marking him as American-raised. The second was younger, barely 18, with the soft face of someone who'd never seen real violence. You must be Brother Khalid, Marcus said to the older one. And you're what, the tech guy? He nodded at the younger one, who'd gone pale. Dad, wait. Clinton stood, hands raised, but there was no remorse in his voice, just panic at being caught. I read the chat logs. Marcus said quietly, all of them. The money, the route coordinates, everything. For Marines died in that strike, Clinton. For men with families. They were oppressors. The words burst from Clinton with surprising venom. You're all murderers. You think I don't know what you did over there? The villages you burned? The civilians? What I did? Marcus's voice went deadly calm. I tracked terror cells. Saved American lives. Everything I did was to protect people. To protect you. Protect me? Clinton laughed bitterly. You were never here. Mom died, and you went back to Afghanistan 2 weeks later. I was 12 years old, and you left me with Aunt Harriet for another 6-month deployment. The accusation hit harder than any bullet, because it was true. Marcus had buried his grief in duty, left his grieving son to cope alone. He'd told himself Clinton was resilient, that Harriet Romero, his late wife's sister, would provide stability. He'd been wrong. Your father abandoned you, Brother Khalid said smoothly, moving slightly in front of Clinton. Protective, but we welcomed you, showed you truth, gave you purpose. Purpose. Marcus's eyes locked on the man. You radicalized the kid and turned him into a weapon. Used his anger, his grief. How much of that 20,000 actually went to Clinton, I wonder? 10%? 5? Brother Khalid's expression flickered. Clinton caught it. What's he talking about? Clinton demanded. We agreed 20,000, the younger man started, but Khalid cut him off with a sharp gesture. Marcus pressed the advantage. You're a recruiter. You've done this before. Find angry kids online, feed them propaganda, get them to do your dirty work. How many attacks have you orchestrated, Khalid? If that's even your real name. His name is Juan Leon, a new voice said from the doorway. Everyone spun. Daryl Novak filled the frame, 6'4" of solid muscle, wearing tactical gear and holding an AR-15 with casual competence. Behind him, Scott Glenn and Everett Torres secure the hallway. Juan Leon, Daryl continued, consulting his phone. 26, born in Dearborn, Michigan. Arrested twice for fraud, once for assault. Currently wanted in 3 states for running cryptocurrency scams. No religious affiliation, no political ideology. Just a con artist who found a profitable niche. Clinton's face went white. No, you said, you show me videos, proof of war crimes. Edited, Marcus said. Standard radicalization material. They mix real footage with fake context, manufacture outrage. And you bought it because you wanted to. Because blaming me was easier than dealing with your pain. Shut up. Clinton's voice cracked. You don't know anything about my pain. You were never there. You're right. The admission seemed to take the air from the room. Marcus lowered his weapon completely. I failed you. After your mother died, I ran. I chose duty over my son because I didn't know how to face that grief. That's on me, Clinton. That's my sin. You took a step forward, but you tried to kill me. Worse, you got 4 innocent men killed. That's on you. Clinton's hand was in the drawer now, fingers on the Glock. Marcus could see the war happening behind his son's eyes. Rage versus doubt. Ideology versus reality. Juan Leon made the decision for him. The con artist lunged for Clinton's laptop, trying to grab it and bolt for the window. Daryl moved with inhuman speed, crossing the room in 3 strides and slamming one against the wall. The laptop clattered to the floor. The younger accomplice bolted for the door. Scott caught him in the hallway, taking him down with a practiced leg sweep. And Clinton drew the Glock. What Juan Leon did in reverse. Clinton will help us identify online radicalization efforts. He'll infiltrate extremist groups, using his experience as a former recruit to gain trust and gather intelligence. He'll prevent what almost happened to him from happening to other kids. It was brilliant and terrible in equal measure. Use Clinton's guilt and knowledge to save others. And after 5 years, Marcus asked, if he completes the program successfully and the washout rate is high, he gets a clean record, a new identity if needed, and a chance at a real life. If he fails, the original charges activate and he goes to Leavenworth. Marcus looked at the feed from the van where Clinton sat. His son looked broken, hollow. But there was something else there, too. A flicker of the boy Marcus remembered, before grief and anger had twisted him. Can I talk to him first? You have 30 minutes before we transport him to the evaluation facility. Make them count. Marcus sat in the back of the van across from his son. Everett had given them privacy, standing guard outside. The space felt impossibly small, filled with things unsaid over 8 years of absence. They told me about the program, Clinton said. His voice was hoarse from crying. 5 years working for them or life in prison. Not really a choice. It's more choice than you gave those Marines, Marcus replied. Clinton flinched but nodded. I know. I can't. He took a shaky breath. I can't explain what I was thinking. Every time I saw news about the wars, I felt this rage. And one made it make sense. He gave me someone to blame. You could have blamed me directly, called me, yelled at me, told me what a terrible father I'd been. I would have listened. Would you? Clinton looked up, eyes red-rimmed. Or would you have given me some speech about duty and sacrifice and moved on to the next mission? The accusation hurt because it was probably true. The old Marcus, the one who'd buried his wife and fled into his work, might have done exactly that. I don't know, Marcus admitted. The man I was after your mother died? It might have failed you again. But that man got 4 of his Marines killed because he was too blind to see his own son's pain. He died in that drone strike too. But you survived. Barely. And only because I got lucky. Marcus leaned forward. Clinton, I can't undo the years I wasn't there. Can't bring back your mother or those Marines. But I can be here now, if you'll let me. I tried to kill you. You were manipulated by a professional. Doesn't excuse it, but it explains it. And I'm partially responsible for making you vulnerable to that manipulation. Clinton was quiet for a long time. This program Catherine mentioned. Do you think I could do it? Make something good out of all this? Marcus thought about the intelligence reports he'd read, the pattern of Juan's recruitments. 17 young men, all isolated, all hurting. Clinton could help find them, stop them before they crossed the line he'd crossed. I think you're smart enough, strong enough if you choose to be. But it won't be easy. You'll have to face what you did every day. Live with it. Use it. Will you visit? Or is that against the rules? Marcus felt something crack in his chest. I'll visit every chance I get. And when you finish this program, when you've earned your second chance, I'll be there. We'll figure out how to be a family again. Even after everything. Especially after everything. That's what family does. They sat in silence as the sun rose over 29 palms. Father and son, separated by terrible choices, but connected by something stronger than anger or grief. Hope. Chapter 4. The Long Road. 14 months later, Marcus sat in a nondescript office building in Northern Virginia, waiting. The facility had no name, no signage, nothing to indicate it was a Department of Defense black site specializing in counter-radicalization. But Marcus had been coming here every other weekend for more than a year, watching his son slowly rebuild himself from the wreckage of his choices. Catherine McCormick entered the visiting room, tablet in hand. She'd aged well since their first meeting, or maybe Marcus had just gotten better at reading the weight she carried. Running a program that turned criminals into assets took its toll. He's doing well, Catherine said, sitting across from Marcus. Better than most, honestly. His psychological evaluations showed genuine remorse and significant progress in processing his grief. Dr. Eleanor Martin says he's ready for Phase 2. Phase 2 meant operational work. Real missions infiltrating extremist networks. That seems fast, Marcus said carefully. It's been 14 months. Some candidates wash out in 3. Clinton has a gift for this. He understands the recruitment psychology because he lived it. His technical skills are solid thanks to community college coursework, and his anger has transformed into something useful. Determination. Catherine pulled up a file on her tablet. We've identified a new recruitment network operating out of online gaming communities. They're targeting military kids, same as one Leon did. We want Clinton to infiltrate, gather evidence, identify the operators. He's barely 20, Marcus protested. He was 19 when he helped plan a drone strike on American forces. Catherine replied evenly. Age isn't the issue. Readiness is. And he's ready. The question is, are you? Marcus knew she was right. This was the path Clinton had chosen, redemption through service. Keeping him locked in therapy forever wasn't an option. When does he deploy? 2 weeks. You can tell him today if you want. He's waiting. Clinton looked different. Older, harder, but in a good way. He'd put on muscle from the facility's mandatory fitness program, and his eyes had lost that desperate, hollow quality. He looked focused. Dad, Clinton stood when Marcus entered the common room. They'd progressed from awkward handshakes to brief hugs over the months. Small victories. Hey, son, Catherine says you're graduating to fieldwork. Clinton's face lit up. Actual excitement, not the manufactured enthusiasm of their early visits. Gaming network infiltration. I've been preparing for weeks. Dr. Martin thinks I'm ready. They sat in the corner where they always talked, away from the other program participants. Clinton had made friends here, other young men and women who'd made terrible choices and were working to atone. It was a strange kind of community bound by shared guilt and shared purpose. How are you feeling about it? Marcus asked. Nervous, excited, scared I'll mess up. Clinton laughed, but it had an edge. Scared I'll succeed and someone will get hurt because of my intel. That's good. How is that good? Because it means you're thinking about consequences now. The old you, the one Leon manipulated, didn't think past his own anger. This you? You're considering the weight of your actions. That's growth. Clinton was quiet for a moment. I read the files on the Marines who died. The real files, not the sanitized versions. Staff Sergeant Philip O'Neill had 3 kids. Lance Corporal Travis Lord was engaged. Sergeant Guy Shepard was 2 months from retirement. You weren't supposed to have access to those. Dr. Martin thought I needed to face it. The full truth of what my information made possible. Clinton's hands tightened on his knees. I carry their names with me now. Every morning, I say them out loud. Remind myself who paid for my mistakes. Marcus felt a familiar ache in his chest. This was the son he'd hoped Clinton could become. Thoughtful, responsible, aware of the cost of violence. But the price of that transformation was almost unbearable. They want you to do better, Marcus said. To save others. That's the kind of men they were. I hope so, because that's the only way I can live with what I did. They talked for another hour about Clinton's upcoming mission, his training, the technical aspects of infiltrating online spaces. It was easier to discuss operational details than emotions. Both Snyders were more comfortable with tactics than feelings. As visiting hours ended, Clinton stood to leave, then paused. Dad, thank you for not giving up on me. For visiting. He struggled for words. For being here when I needed you most. Marcus pulled his son into a tight embrace. I should have been there before. I'm sorry it took something this terrible to wake me up. Maybe we both needed to wake up. Chapter 5, Digital Shadows. 3 weeks later, Marcus received an encrypted message. Package delivered. Operation active. Clinton was in play. The target was a sophisticated operation run by someone called Brother Marcus. The irony of the handle wasn't lost on anyone. This recruiter was smarter than one Leon had been, using gaming clans and streaming platforms to identify potential candidates, then slowly escalating their exposure to extremist content. Clinton's cover was perfect. He was Cole Hart, a bitter ex-military kid whose father had died in Afghanistan. Half true, if you counted the death of whom Marcus used to be. He'd been streaming tactical shooters for 6 months under this identity, building an authentic presence in gaming communities. Marcus wasn't directly involved in the operation, conflict of interest, but Catherine kept him informed. It was torture, knowing his son was out there, surrounded by the same kind of manipulation that had nearly destroyed him and being unable to help. Instead, Marcus threw himself into his own work. He'd been reassigned to a training position at Camp Pendleton, teaching counterinsurgency tactics to new intelligence officers. It was good work, important work, but his mind was always half focused on Clinton's mission. 2 months in, Catherine called him to Virginia for an urgent briefing. We have a problem, she said without preamble. Clinton made contact with Brother Marcus, got invited into an inner circle chat group. He's doing excellent work. We've identified 6 other recruiters in the network. But Brother Marcus is planning something big. She pulled up intercepted messages. Brother Marcus was organizing what he called the Awakening, a coordinated series of attacks on military recruitment centers across the country. Time for Independence Day. He had recruited 23 young men for the operation, providing them with detailed tactical plans and promising them martyrdom. "We need to shut this down now," Catherine said. "FBI is ready to move, but we need Clinton to identify the physical location of Brother Marcus. He's using sophisticated encryption and routing through multiple VPNs. We can't trace him digitally. What's Clinton's status?" "Deep cover. Brother Marcus trusts him enough to assign him a target, recruitment center in San Diego. Clinton's supposed to survey it this week." Marcus felt ice in his veins. "You're using my son as bait." "We're using a trained asset to complete his mission," Catherine corrected. "He knew the risks. He volunteered for this. He's 20 years old. He's an adult who committed serious crimes and chose this path as restitution." "I understand your concern, Marcus." "I do. But Clinton is good at this. Better than agents twice his age. He has a gift for gaining trust because he genuinely understands the mindset." Marcus wanted to pull Clinton out, wrap him in safety, protect him the way he'd failed to do before. But that wasn't his call to make anymore. "What do you need from me?" "Nothing. You're too close to this. I'm telling you as a courtesy because you're his father. But Marcus? He's going to be fine. He's smart, he's careful, and he's motivated. Trust him." Clinton's reports came through the system every 48 hours. Marcus wasn't supposed to see them, but Daryl Novak had connections in Catherine's operation. Former military contractors often did, and made sure Marcus got copies. The picture they painted was disturbing. Brother Marcus was a true believer, unlike Juan Leon. He didn't care about money. He'd been radicalized while serving in Iraq, witnessed civilian casualties that broke something in him, and come home convinced the American military was a force of evil that needed to be stopped at any cost. His real name was Randolph Melton, a former Army sergeant with expertise in explosives and tactics. He'd gone underground 5 years ago and built his recruitment network slowly, carefully. The Awakening was his endgame. Enough simultaneous attacks to make national news, inspire others, destabilize military recruitment. Clinton was supposed to meet Randolph face-to-face in 3 days. The meet location would give the FBI what they needed to move. Marcus read his son's last report. Brother Marcus is committed to his cause, but not suicidal. He plans to survive these attacks, continue his work. He's smart, paranoid, and has contingencies. Approach with caution. I believe I can get the location, but extraction timing will be critical. If he suspects I'm compromised, he has plans to disappear. I'm ready for this. I know what I'm doing. Trust me. The words echoed what Catherine had said. Trust him. Trust the son who tried to kill him 18 months ago. Trust that Clinton had truly changed. Marcus had no choice. All he could do was wait. Chapter 6, The Awakening. The meeting was set for a parking garage in Phoenix. Clinton would arrive alone, undergo a security check, then meet Randolph to receive final instructions for his assigned target. The FBI had the garage surrounded, hostage rescue team on standby, snipers positioned, tactical response ready. Catherine McCormick coordinated from a mobile command center 3 blocks away. And Marcus, who absolutely should not have been there, watched from an unmarked vehicle with Daryl. "You know this is against protocol," Daryl said mildly. "I know. If Catherine finds out I brought you." "She won't. And if she does, I'll take the heat." They watched Clinton's car pull into the garage. The young man was wearing a concealed wire, but they'd lose audio once he went deep into the structure. Visual surveillance only after that point. "He's got this," Daryl assured him. "Kid's got ice in his veins. Reminds me of you at that age." Marcus grunted. He'd been a cocky Marine at 20, convinced of his invincibility. Clinton had lost that cockiness, paid for it in guilt and consequences. Maybe that made him better prepared for this than Marcus had ever been. The radio crackled. Asset entering target floor. Visual confirmed on Brother Marcus. He's alone. Marcus watched the grainy surveillance feed. Randolph Melton was a wiry man in his 40s, wearing nondescript clothes and a baseball cap. He looked like 1,000 other veterans, nothing remarkable, except for the eyes. Even on the low-quality video, Marcus could see the intensity there. Clinton approached casually, hands visible. They talked for 3 minutes, long enough for Clinton to get Randolph comfortable, establish rapport. Then Randolph led Clinton toward a vehicle. He's moving to a secondary location, the FBI coordinator reported. We can't follow without compromising the operation. Let them go, Catherine ordered. Clinton knows the protocol. He'll signal when he has what we need. But they didn't go far. The vehicle stayed in the garage, pulled into a corner space. Randolph opened the trunk, showed Clinton something inside. Explosives, probably, proving he had the materials to back up his plans. Then Clinton's hand went to his pocket, the signal. He had confirmation of Randolph's location and resources. Time to extract. Except Randolph's hand went to his waistband. Gun, someone shouted over the radio. Marcus was out of the vehicle before Daryl could stop him, running toward the garage. He heard Catherine screaming orders, FBI teams mobilizing, but all he could think was that his son was about to die and he was 200 yards away. A single gunshot echoed through the parking structure. Marcus hit the stairwell at full sprint, taking stairs 3 at a time. He burst onto the target floor to find FBI hostage rescue team already there, weapons drawn, shouting commands. Randolph Melton lay on the ground, bleeding from his shoulder. His weapon was 3 feet away, and Clinton stood over him, holding a pistol Marcus didn't know he'd been carrying, hands shaking but stand solid. He made me, Clinton said, voice steady despite the tremor in his hands. Pulled a gun. I didn't have a choice. Catherine's team swarmed in, securing Randolph, clearing the area. Marcus pushed through them to reach his son. Are you hurt? No, I'm okay. Clinton lowered the weapon, let an FBI agent take it. I shot him. I actually shot someone. You defended yourself. Do what you had to do. Yeah. Clinton looked at Randolph, now being treated by medics. Yeah, I did. The adrenaline started to wear off, and Clinton began shaking harder. Marcus pulled him away from the scene, found a quiet corner. First time is always hardest, Marcus said quietly. You'll process this, work through it with Dr. Martin. But you saved yourself, and you got us what we needed to stop those attacks. I know I did the right thing. But God, Dad, when he looked at me, when he figured out I wasn't one of them, he looked so betrayed. Like one Leon did when I figured out he'd lied to me. Good, Marcus said firmly. Remember that feeling. That's empathy. That's your conscience working. Don't ever lose that, even in this line of work. Especially in this line of work. Clinton nodded, getting control of himself. Did we get everyone? All 23 recruits. Catherine appeared, looking pleased. Randolph's phone had everything. Every recruit, every target, every detail. FBI is executing warrants across 12 states as we speak. The awakening is over before it began. She looked at Clinton with something like respect. You did exceptional work. And shooting Randolph might have saved this operation. If we'd arrested him peacefully, he might never have talked. But wounded, in pain, looking at attempted murder charges? He's cooperating fully. How long do I have to keep this cover? Clinton asked. You don't. You're burned. Randolph will tell his network about you out of spite, if nothing else. But that's okay. You've completed your first major operation. Time for new identities, new targets. How many more years? Clinton asked quietly. 3 years, 8 months, Catherine replied. But at the rate you're going, we might find ways to accelerate your timeline. Keep this up, and you might earn your freedom sooner than expected. Marcus watched his son process this. Clinton had taken a life today. Even if the shot wasn't fatal, the weight was the same. He'd be processing that trauma for years. But he'd also saved lives, prevented an attack that would have killed dozens. The balance sheet of violence. Marcus knew it well. Come on, Marcus said. Let's get you debriefed, and then we're getting dinner. Somewhere far away from here. Steak, biggest one we can find. As they walked out of the parking garage together, Marcus realized something had shifted. Clinton wasn't his broken, angry son anymore. He wasn't fully healed. Maybe never would be. But he was becoming someone new. Someone who carried his guilt and used it to do better. Someone who might, eventually, forgive himself. And maybe, Marcus thought, someone who might eventually forgive his father too. Chapter 7. Ghosts and Redemption. 2 years later, Marcus stood in Catherine McCormick's office for the last time. Outside, snow fell on Virginia's winter landscape. Unusual, but fitting. Everything was changing. Clinton's completed his service, Catherine said, sliding a file across her desk. 5 years condensed to 3.5 through exceptional performance. 7 major operations, 14 recruitment networks dismantled, hundreds of potential attacks prevented. He's earned his release. Marcus opened the file. Inside was a new identity, complete with birth certificate, social security number, driver's license. David Shepard, he read aloud. He chose the surname, Catherine explained. After Guy Shepard, one of the Marines killed in the drone strike. The weight of that choice hit Marcus hard. Clinton had chosen to carry the name of the man he'd helped kill as a reminder, a penance, a promise to do better. Where will he go? That's up to him. The program provides relocation assistance, job placement, ongoing therapy. But he's 23 now, legally dead, and free to build whatever life he wants. Can I see him before he leaves? Catherine smiled slightly. He's waiting downstairs. Clinton, David now, sat in the same common room where they'd had dozens of conversations over 3.5 years. But this time, there was a duffel bag at his feet. Everything he owned in the world. Dad, son, they'd gotten better at this over the years. The hugs were easier, more natural. They'd talked through the worst of it. Marcus's failures, Clinton's crimes, the shared grief that had poisoned them both. Not all wounds had healed, but they'd scabbed over enough to function. So, David Shepard, Marcus said, that's going to take some getting used to. Better than Clinton Hansen, fugitive terrorist, David replied with dark humor. I've got a job lined up in Seattle. Tech support for a software company. Boring, normal, exactly what I need. Seattle's far from California. Yeah, I need distance. From this place, from who I was from. He gestured vaguely. All of it. Dr. Martin says physical distance can help with psychological distance. Fresh start. Marcus understood. He tried the same thing after his wife's death, running to Afghanistan to escape his grief. It hadn't worked for him, but maybe David would have better luck. What about us? Marcus asked. Do you want distance from me too? David was quiet for a long moment. I've thought about that a lot. In therapy, on operations, during the long nights. And here's what I figured out. You screwed up. Bad. You left me when I needed you most. But I screwed up worse. And we both paid for our mistakes. He met Marcus's eyes. I don't need distance from you. I need a father who shows up. Who calls? Who remembers my birthday? Normal stuff. Can you do that? Yes, Marcus said without hesitation. I'm at Pendleton for another year. Then I'm retiring. 25 years is enough. I was thinking of buying a place in Oregon, doing some consulting work. Not far from Seattle. You're retiring? The great Marcus Snyder, giving up the warrior life? I've got nothing left to prove, and I've lost enough years with my son. Marcus smiled. Besides, I'm getting old. These knees aren't what they used to be. David laughed, real, genuine laughter. You're 45, not 90. Tell that to my back after a morning run. They spent the next hour talking about mundane things. David's apartment in Seattle, Marcus's retirement plans, whether the Seahawks would make the playoffs. Normal conversation between a father and son, the kind they should have been having for years. When it was time to go, David stood and shouldered his duffel bag. Thank you, he said, for not giving up on me, for visiting every week, for believing I could be better than my worst moment. That's what fathers do, Marcus replied, even if it took me too long to figure that out. We got there eventually. At the facility entrance, they paused. This was goodbye to this chapter of their lives, the black site, the program, the weight of Clinton's crimes and Marcus's guilt. Call me when you get settled, Marcus said. And David, I'm proud of you, not just for completing the program, but for who you've become despite everything. I'm proud of you too, Dad, for changing, for being here. That couldn't have been easy. They embraced one last time as Clinton Hansen and Marcus Snyder. When they separated, it was David Shepard and a father who'd learned that duty to family mattered more than duty to country. See you soon, Dad. Soon, son. Chapter 8. Settling Debts. 6 months later, Marcus sat in a coffee shop in Portland, halfway between his new home on the Oregon coast and David's apartment in Seattle. They'd been meeting here monthly since David's release, rebuilding their relationship one conversation at a time. David looked good, healthy. He'd been working his tech support job, seeing a therapist twice a week, even dating someone, a woman named Marina Carson he'd met at a coding meetup. Normal life. So, I got a call from Catherine yesterday, David said, stirring his coffee. Marcus tensed. What did she want? Relax. Nothing operational. Just checking in. Apparently, Juan Leon's appealing his sentence. 50 years in federal supermax wasn't enough for him. Juan Leon, the man who'd manipulated Clinton, set this whole nightmare in motion. Marcus had followed his trial from Afghanistan while recovering from the drone strike. The man had shown no remorse, claimed he was a political prisoner, tried to turn his prosecution into a platform for his ideology. Let him appeal, Marcus said. He's not getting out. I know, but Catherine wanted to warn me in case media coverage reignited things. The trial was sealed, but appeals sometimes leak. How do you feel about it? David considered. Angry. Still, he used me, killed Marines, destroyed lives. But also grateful in a weird way. If he hadn't targeted me, I might have stayed angry and aimless forever. Might have done something stupid on my own eventually. That's a mature perspective. Dr. Martin's been working on reframing trauma into growth opportunities. Not saying I'm glad it happened, but I'm trying to find meaning in it. They talked for another hour before David had to leave for a shift. As they parted ways in the parking lot, David's phone buzzed. He checked it and frowned. What? Marcus asked. Weird. Text from a number I don't recognize. Just says, Brother Khalid sends his regards. Marcus felt ice in his veins. Let me see that. The text was simple, untraceable. But the implications were clear. Someone from Juan's network knew about David, was reaching out. Warning? Threat? Recruitment attempt? Could be nothing, David said. Could be some troll who got my number. But could be someone who knows who you used to be. Marcus's tactical mind kicked into gear. Have you noticed anyone following you? Strange calls? Anything unusual? No, nothing. I've been careful, like Catherine taught me. Forward that to her. And to me. I want Daryl to take a look, see if we can trace it. David nodded, already typing. You think someone's coming after me? I think Juan Leon had a network, and just because he's in prison doesn't mean it's gone. Some of those people might want revenge for his arrest. The threat was real. Daryl's investigation revealed that 3 members of Juan's recruitment network had escaped prosecution due to lack of evidence. They'd gone underground, but continued communicating through encrypted channels. And they'd been discussing Clinton Hansen, the recruit who'd betrayed their operation, cost them their leader. They knew Clinton had entered some kind of government program. They didn't know about the new identity, but they were looking, and the text to David's number suggested they were getting close. We need to move David, Catherine said during an emergency conference call. New city, new identity, complete break from Seattle. No, David said firmly. He was on the call from his apartment, Marcus listening from his home. I'm not running anymore. I spent 3 years in your program, did everything you asked. I've earned my life. I'm not giving it up because some criminals are mad their boss got arrested. These aren't street thugs, Catherine argued. They're trained in the same tactics one used. They're patient, smart, and motivated. They will find you. Then let them come, David said. I'm not the scared kid I was 4 years ago. I know their playbook. I've been trained by the best. If they want to fight, I'll give them one. Marcus heard the confidence in his son's voice and recognized it. This was the same determination that had helped David survive the program, complete impossible missions, rebuild his life from ashes. But it was also the same overconfidence that had gotten Marines killed. Son, there's a difference between bravery and stupidity, Marcus said carefully. I know, but there's also a difference between strategic retreat and running scared. Catherine, you taught me to face threats head-on, to use intelligence and planning to neutralize enemies. That's what I'm doing. What are you proposing? Catherine asked. Let them find me, but on my terms. We set a trap, draw them out, end this threat permanently. I'll be the bait. It was a terrible idea. It was also exactly what Marcus would have suggested. Chapter 9. The Final Death. The plan took 2 weeks to arrange. David would stay visible in Seattle, maintain his routine, make himself an easy target. Meanwhile, Daryl's team would provide invisible security. Catherine's program would monitor communications, and Marcus, against all protocol, would be on site as backup. The trap was simple. David would attend a coding conference at a downtown hotel, a public event with multiple exits and thousands of attendees. Juan's associates would see it as the perfect opportunity, crowded, chaotic, easy to blend in. But the hotel was owned by one of Daryl's contractor friends. Every security camera had been upgraded. Every entrance was monitored. And scattered throughout the crowd were operators who'd worked with Marcus in places that didn't officially exist. David wore a concealed wire and a GPS tracker. He attended panels, networked with other developers, acted completely normal. And he waited. They came on the second day. Visual on possible hostile, Everett Torres reported from his position in the hotel lobby. Male, 30s, matches description of Mel Patton, one of Juan's known associates. He's tracking our asset. Marcus, positioned in the parking garage with Daryl, tensed. David, we have eyes on a threat. Heading to the third-floor conference room. Stay in public spaces. Copy. David's voice came back calm. I see him. He's not alone. 2 more at the coffee stand. They're coordinating. 3 hostiles. Exactly what intelligence had predicted. Mel Patton and his partners, Fernando Drew and Adrian Cochran, had worked with Juan Leon for years. They'd helped recruit, radicalize, and coordinate attacks. Now they wanted revenge. Moving to intercept, Scott Glenn reported. But we can't grab them without cause. They haven't done anything actionable yet. Wait for it. Catherine ordered from the command vehicle. Let them make their move. We need this clean. David left the conference room and headed for the bathroom. Isolated, fewer civilians. The bait. Mel followed. So did Fernando. I'm going in, Marcus said, already moving. Negative, Catherine snapped. Let the team handle it. But Marcus was already in the hotel, taking the stairs 2 at a time. His son was about to be cornered by trained killers, and protocol could go to hell. He reached the 3rd floor as David entered the bathroom. Through the wire, he heard conversation. Clinton Hansen, Mel's voice. Or should I say David Shepard? Did you really think we wouldn't find you? I think you should leave, David replied, voice steady. Whatever you're planning, it's not worth it. Worth it? You destroyed our network. Got one locked in a hole for 50 years. Killed our purpose. Your purpose was manipulating kids and getting them killed for money. I stopped that. I'd do it again. The sound of a weapon being drawn. You're not stopping anything anymore. Marcus burst through the bathroom door, weapon raised. Federal agent. Drop your weapons. It was a lie. Marcus was retired military, but it had the desired effect. Mel and Fernando spun, surprised. David used the distraction to lunge for Mel's gun hand, twisting the weapon away with the disarming technique Catherine's program had drilled into him. Daryl came through the opposite entrance, taking Fernando down with a practice tackle. Scott secured Adrian in the hallway before he could provide backup. It was over in 15 seconds. As hotel security, actually Daryl's contractors, secured the 3 men, Marcus pulled David aside. You good? Yeah. Shaken but good. David looked at the 3 men being cuffed. That's it, right? No more threats from Juan's network. These were the last known associates, Catherine confirmed over the radio. Between their arrest and the evidence we'll seize, the network is finished. Marcus studied his son. David had handled the confrontation perfectly, stayed calm, created an opening, didn't panic. He'd become the capable, confident man Marcus had hoped he could be. You did good, son. We did good, David corrected. You came for me. Again. Always will. 3 months later, Marcus stood in David's Seattle apartment, helping assemble IKEA furniture for the new place David and Marina were moving into together. It was aggressively normal, arguing over instructions, losing screws, laughing at their mutual incompetence with power tools. So Mom would have liked Marina, David said, holding a shelf bracket while Marcus tried to find the right bolt. It was the first time David had mentioned his mother in years without pain in his voice. She would have loved her, Marcus agreed. Smart, funny, puts up with your terrible jokes. All the qualities your mother valued. Do you think Mom would have understood? What happened with me, and Juan, and everything after? Marcus paused, considering. I think she would have been heartbroken at first, angry, confused, but then she would have done exactly what she always did, focused on helping you heal. She was better at that than I ever was. You learn, though, eventually. Too late for your mother, but not too late for us. They worked in comfortable silence for a while. Through the window, Seattle's skyline glittered in the fading light. David had a good job, a good relationship, a future. The past would always be there. The Marines he'd helped kill, the crimes he'd committed, the darkness he'd touched. But it didn't define him anymore. Dad, yeah, thank you. For everything. For not giving up. For being here. For being my father when I needed you most. Marcus set down his tools and looked at his son, really looked at him. David Shepard, who used to be Clinton Hansen, 24 years old. Survivor. Redeemed. Thank you for giving me a second chance, Marcus replied. Not every son would forgive what I did. Not every father would forgive what I did either. We're even. They finished the shelf as the sun set over Seattle. Later, Marina would arrive with dinner, and they'd all laugh about Marcus's terrible furniture assembly skills. They'd talk about normal things, job prospects, vacation plans, whether the apartment had enough storage. Normal. That's what they'd both earned through fire and blood and forgiveness. The debts were paid. The ghosts were quiet. And somewhere, Marcus believed Staff Sergeant Philip O'Neill, Lance Corporal Travis Lord, and Sergeant Guy Shepard would approve of the man carrying their brother's name. Justice had been served, not through courts or punishment, but through transformation. Marcus Snyder and David Shepard walked out of that apartment together as father and son, no longer haunted by who they'd been, but hopeful about who they'd become. The war was over. They both won.
This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your precious time. If you enjoyed this story, then please make sure you subscribe to this channel. That would help me a lot. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.